Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Saturday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Plenty to talk about today as we do wrap up the week for CME and prepare for the next week to come. And then obviously we got short-term time frame ranges over the weekends here as well. As always, when it comes to the weekend price action, I'm not super compelled by it, but ultimately there are ranges to be going off of and a few interesting indications here and there as well. So I suspect without further ado, we can just jump right into it right now. Why not, man? Anyways, let's start it off with the short-term time frames for the 6 hour over here on Bitcoin. It's basically the same thing that we've been looking at for the past about 48 to maybe even 72 hours going on here. And top side of the range going to be about 23,750, the high of yesterday, essentially on a closing basis. That is, of course. And to the downside, we got the 382 marking off the bottom side, kind of the same thing as what we had yesterday, or exactly the same thing as what we had yesterday at 22,200 again on a closing basis. Any sort of range resolution above the top side at 23,750. And yes, I still would be looking for next leg up somewhere around 24.5 short term, and then very likely continuation to the 25.5 region, and vice versa to the downside anywhere below about 22,200 again on a closing basis. I'd be looking for an ultimate move back down around about $20,000, sorry, not 20,000 just yet, but $21,000 lows with a bounce along the way at about 21.6 or so. So with that in mind, I did want to bring up a few indicators over here that I think were of interest. First and foremost, we do see that 6 hour and 4 hour BBWP are contracting back down into the low teens percentile. So, you know, we actually likely are looking at a range move here over the weekend, maybe a little bit later today on Saturday, of course. Yes, I do see a bit of hidden bullish evidence on the RSI right here, but I do not think that this one's going to work out, especially over a weekend. I just do not trust these signals. I don't see them play out all that often over a weekend, especially the ones that kind of look like this one. So ultimately, I do think that at best for boo laws, we see a bit of a range. Range, of course, is going to be better for boo laws here, but ultimately, I did want to bring up a few things on this chart over here regarding stochastic momentum. Starting off with the 6 hour again. Stochastic momentum pivot, guess where it is? Top side of the range, 23,500 on a 6 hour time frame closing basis. 4 hour is going to be showing momentum pivots at 23,150. So currently downside as well into the bearish control zone, by the way. Bi hourly is also showing downside, or actually technically up right now, but will turn back down below about 22,650. And yes, it is a little bit more in the critical zone right there. And then hourly obviously is going to be flippy floppy, currently up right now, pivoted at the exact same levels as bi hourly at 22,650. So again, what does that likely amount for? Bit of sideways action, bit of a range action. You know, I'll be the first person to tell you probably gonna be fucking boring today, despite any sort of clickbait YouTube title like, oh my god, it's a whole new, the game has changed, man. The game is changing. What does that even mean? I don't know. What even is the game? Don't even fucking know as well, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, so yeah, I think we got that. I also wanted to address this here too. So if we go to the 2-day time frame, not to use a bad alliteration, there is potential hidden bearish divergence in play here. If Bitcoin does confirm a local high on the 2-day time frame, you can see that the 2-day RSI is making higher highs than what we even saw going all the way back to May, let alone early May, let alone late May and early June highs, which were the highs at about 31,000 to 32,000 bucks right there, and then the prior one was all the way up closer to 40,000 bucks. So that's going to be a bit concerning. Again, long term, you know, with that as kind of like a headwind, extremely unlikely we're going to see any sort of like macro bottom here as it is right now. I think again, best case scenario is Bitcoin tries to move towards like, you know, 26,500 bucks, or maybe gets like a stray wick a little bit higher than that. But ultimately, you know, I think on the macro scale, we're looking at a macro range at best for a while. We'll address that topic on tomorrow's video, of course. But in this case right here, how would Bitcoin confirm a local high, thus confirming hidden bearish divergence, thus likely confirming a move back down to that $20,000 to $21,000 region, probably closer to 20,000 bucks to be fair, with a bounce along the way at 21.6 and then 21 even or so, or maybe just ever so slightly below there. And how would it go like this? Well, in this case, I do think that we could go down and use a little bit of a shorter term time frame. And yes, any sort of a daily closure, especially below $22,000 would do it. Could we even use a lower term time frame than that? Well, the thing is that, when you go over the order of operations, if we do see the short-term time frame range break to the downside, it's likely going to lead to a daily closure below those pivoted levels, which is likely going to lead into a 2-day closure, which again closes 2 nights. So if that does happen, that would be a good indication that Bitcoin does come back down there. But until that happens, it's just potential. It's not fully baked into the charts. And I also want to address something that is obviously more on the bullish side. So now that we get into the weekly, or well, maybe not just yet. Here's the weekly closure for CME. They already closed the week for Friday, of course, and a couple of interesting things right here. Do we see price action close above the white 200 simple moving average on the weekly? No, it actually closes ever so slightly below. Closing price is 22,615, and 200 simple is 22,693. So that probably is where Bitcoin hangs around until the end of the weekend here. On top of that, we do see the first signal ever on the weekly jewel here, where it actually is printing a God mode green in the background. We've never seen this actually happen on this time frame before for this specific exchange. So what do I make out of that? I mean, generally speaking, it's a good signal, but these are long-term things to play out of. There's only been even one other time where we've even seen it within this region. That's going all the way back here to December 2018. Yeah, that was the last macro bottom, to be fair. Again, I think at best we're going to see a big range activity going on right here. And then what else do we see? We actually also see weekly BBWP officially go into a contraction phase. So again, things are probably going to get a lot more boring on the macro scale over the next couple months here. But what I also thought was of interest, actually, for the Boo laws at least, is this: the weekly stochastic momentum oscillator is going to officially turn to the upside coming into this next open, as the momentum pivot was held 19,950, of course. Now we want to see spot price action follow through, which happens tomorrow at Sunday and needs to close above 19,550 essentially. And crossing up from these levels right here, specifically on CME, has not necessarily been like an amazing proposition in the past, to be fair. The last couple iterations were actually pretty fucking good. In fact, we do see this one over here in February, of course, that was ultimately a failed rally attempt from low to high, did produce about a 43.5% move. So, of interest, of course, but you will notice that as soon as it crossed, this price action actually came back down and set in a higher low right here, and then put on that trudge to the upside. So it could be that we get something like this, boom, and then try a little bit higher, and then maybe dump a little bit later, something like that. And then, of course, if we go back to the past iteration before that one, it was actually, the best one, basically going back to July 2021 right here. This was quite literally the low before that massive macro bear trap that we did see in July of last year, before Bitcoin went from about 30,000 to, basically $70,000. So not bad right there. But again, I don't want to dissuade, or I don't want to, put you on the wrong direction here, thinking that that's going to, that's like the most likely thing to happen right here. For example, the last time that we saw, or the time before that we saw the weekly stochastic momentum oscillator within that direction was right here in October 2019. This was very obviously a trap going on right now, or not right now, but back then. And then, of course, the real signal was when it came back in and swooped in for a higher low on the actual momentum oscillator. That was the nice and very tradable move from here to here of about 66%. And then literally the same thing again in December 2018. This was ultimately the macro low, but you did see it come back down and grind out that low. So, could it be that we get something similar to that? Definitely possible. Definitely possible, because, if Bitcoin were to come back down closer to $20,000, I'm sure that everyone and their mother's going to start screaming, for 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 yet again. I remain with my stance that Bitcoin either puts in a macro bottom, basically where it's already kind of been at that $17,000 level, maybe slightly lower towards 16, or it's going closer to like $6,000 in the next half year to a year. But in this case, that's definitely possible. And then, we have another bounce attempt that we did see in June 2018. So, and by the way, this one was another like 40% winner, so actually closer to 50% in this case. So yes, that does still make me a little bit more biased towards Bitcoin trying a greater bounce out of this region coming into the next couple of weeks here, into the end of July, early August. Again, for the same reasons that we've been going over this, the past couple of weeks of these videos. I really don't have anything new to add right there, which is why I'm not going over those signals yet again. But tomorrow we'll go over the macro case for Bitcoin, and until then, Kind of the same thing as what we've been seeing for the past few days here. Ranges are as they have been. Perhaps I'll subtly shill the good old Instagram. It's free, so it's a hard shill, man. Now I've just been, on boring days like today, where I kind of have an off day from trading. I don't really intend to trade this right now. What I'll do is I'll have like an AMA type thing going on there. So if you're interested in such things, that'd be a good venue for that, because I've kind of stopped the live streams for now, and I feel like Instagram's just a better way to handle those sorts of things instead of making everyone sit through like 30 minutes of a bit of shit talk on YouTube. Teach their own, of course. And then of course, we also got the Bybit shill link as well, which actually is good for promotion, of which you get 0% on your maker fees if you use the link in the description below. What else about it? Yeah, it basically means that just more money in your pocket, or maybe less as well. maybe less as well. But you won't pay the goddamn fees on maker orders. So there you go. Other than that, I think I'll be signing off right now. I want to wish you well yet again. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.